Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ossining Public Library, virtual public library. We're really happy to have you here at our virtual potluck, and I'm going to introduce you to Ashley Covelli, and she'll tell you all about herself and what we're going to cook tonight and programs coming up, right?
Yes. So, hi everybody. I think I know several of you. We have some new faces. Welcome. This is our virtual potluck. We're like getting close to a year and a half now doing this program. We do twice a month. We have a theme every month, and the first time we meet is on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. and we do a cookbook discussion. You're welcome to bring cookbooks. I'll bring cookbooks. We can just talk about food around whatever the theme is. This month's theme is eggs. And then the second time we meet during the month, we do a cooking class. So I love getting together with people from my kitchen to your kitchen because mine's not big enough to fit a bunch of people in it. And then we all get to cook and enjoy a tasty meal. We have, tonight we're making some mini spinach and cheddar quiches. This is based on a full-size quiche recipe that I've been making for years that is awesome, but it takes a little longer than an hour-long class to really to bake and to be able to slice it. So I figured we're gonna do a mini version. And then while it's in the oven, we'll make a quick cucumber cannellini bean salad with dill. And that's a super versatile salad. You can sub different beans, different veggies, really, really easy. And if anybody has questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask. You can, type in the chat if you're shy. We're a pretty nice group, so you don't need to be shy, but I understand if you are. So for those cooking along with me, we're gonna preheat the oven to 350. And what I like to do, we're gonna use a muffin tin, like a regular size muffin tin. You could do a mini muffin tin. I haven't tested it for the recipe time, and it would be a little tricky getting the bread in there, but you could. I always like to put it on a half sheet pan. I do this with pies and cakes, just in case anything happens to bubble over. That way it's not on the bottom of your oven. Usually nothing will cook over and it'll be nice and clean. So I just like a little extra security there. And we're gonna spray, or I have an avocado oil spray or vegetable shortening if you have in each of the tins. You want to try to spray them pretty well because the bread sometimes is a little tricky to get out, but it'll get there. So I'm just spraying inside of each of the little muffin tins. I've done these without, just as an egg cup. They're a little trickier to get out, but they do come out and they are good if you don't want to do bread in there. And you also, I feel like you could probably use pie crust for this. I haven't for the small quiches. I do it for the regular size one, but it has a little longer to bake in the oven. So I'd have to tool around with the recipe a little bit to get timing for that. But I'm just gonna set this aside so it's ready when we are. And then we're gonna heat 2 tablespoons of oil in a large nonstick skillet because we're gonna cook the spinach in there if you're using spinach. Is anybody using other ingredients? Because this is really versatile. You can kind of fill it with whatever you like, but I'm doing like a baby spinach kind of mix.
I was going to add a couple of extra vegetables, like maybe some mushrooms and some peppers in addition, but no.
Yeah, so you can either saute those with the spinach if you want, or you can just cut them up small and leave them raw in there. That's totally fine too. Yeah.
Sorry, if you want to use kale, do you need to steam the kale ahead of time to soften it?
What I would do probably is massage it a little bit, because when you work it, you could just, I think massaging it a little bit will help it break down enough. That's a good question. Well, yeah, because I think sauteing it with the garlic would be good. So maybe just give it a little rub with some oiled hands or something, and then into the skillet. I think that would probably be the best. And that's a great idea. I have some kale in my fridge actually. So yeah, I use a large skillet, even though this cooks down to pretty much nothing. Baby spinach, you start with 5 gallons and you end up with a teaspoon. So actually, we're gonna mince 2 cloves of garlic and about half of a small shallot. We want a tablespoon and a half before I heat up this pan. actually. I was telling Diana before this that I had a garlic incident yesterday. I love garlic, and I was making a New York Times cooking recipe, and it involved a garlic sauce that used more garlic than anything I've ever made before. Like, I'm talking total, I think I used like 22 cloves or something. And after dinner, I remembered that I had a cleaning with the dentist today. So I was doing a lot of damage control last night and this morning to make sure my breath was not like awful from that. But it was very good. The recipe. So just mincing up the garlic. You can, if you don't have red shallots, you could use red onion, especially the salad we're going to make has some red onion in it, so you could just use a little bit of that if you wanted. Shallots just a little more mild. You could use the white part of green onions. You could use some yellow onion, whatever you have on hand. I'm a big proponent of working with what you have if you don't have to go out to the store for something. It's kind of nice to work with what you already have in the kitchen. And quiche is a great way to kind of like clean out your produce store a little bit. So if you have some bell peppers that are like looking a little like they need to be used, or mushrooms, stuff like that. And what I like about these mini quiches is you can kind of do something different in each cup if you'd like. You don't have to do the same thing in every single one. And the amounts for the shallot, it's not set in stone. I'm just saying about half of a small one. And I'll go ahead before I trim this and heat up about 2 tablespoons of, I'm gonna use olive oil. You can use avocado oil, grapeseed oil. I'm not personally a fan of canola oil, but you can use that if you like it. And I'm gonna put it on medium-high heat. Or moderate, more like medium high. We don't want the garlic to burn when we drop it in there. I'm just peeling, but sometimes shallots have this little like slippery kind of coating sticks to it, so I just peeled that off. Just cutting it into small pieces. This would also be good with different types of cheese. Kind of have a lot of various cheeses hanging out in our cheese drawer. I tried a really interesting one recently. I won a year of cheese, so I get a monthly cheese shipment, 3 different cheeses every year. I mean, every month for a year. It's probably going to run out soon, but it was from Wisconsin Cheese, and they sent me this one that's a coffee stout. Really interesting. It's kind of bitter. When you pair it with like a sweet fig jam, it was really, really interesting. So I'd say I have more shallots than a tablespoon and a half, but that's okay. I'm gonna go with it. It's nothing compared to my garlicky breath from yesterday. So I'm gonna scoop these into the hot oil in the skillet, and just kind of put these in the skillet, season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. And if you like a little kick, you could add red pepper flakes in here. I always think red pepper flakes are really nice with greens. Once they're soft, we're gonna add some spinach and just by the handfuls into there. If you have full-size spinach, you might want to chop it up a little bit first. And you could use frozen spinach that you defrosted, and just make sure you squeeze all of the liquid out. So if I have frozen spinach, once it's thawed, I'll put it in like a kitchen towel or over a strainer, or sometimes both. And I'll put it in here and I'll really press down and kind of wring out the extra moisture. So I'm starting to smell like shallots and garlic in here. They're not quite soft. I think I'm gonna dip just a little. And then the other thing that I really like with greens. So this is great with spinach or with kale or chard. I like using fresh nutmeg if you have it. If you don't have it fresh, you can use the already grated or already ground stuff and you just put a little sprinkle of it on there. Hi, Chris. Welcome, welcome. We're just sauteing over here.
Hello, hello. Smells good from here.
My neighbors definitely smell this. And sometimes I smell what my neighbors, I have Egyptian neighbors on one side and sometimes I'll smell it and I'm just like, I want to cancel whatever I'm making because I want to eat that. It smells amazing. And I have one neighbor that we'd always know when she's frying pork chops. And it's just like, sometimes you gotta let that guide what you're planning for your meals for the next week. So once the shallot and the garlic are getting a little soft, and you can smell them, they're fragrant, we're gonna add 4 to 6 ounces of baby spinach. This bag is 6 ounces. It's gonna seem like a ton. It'll cook down to like nothing. So when it's in the pan will be full and you'll think it's too much, but if you haven't cooked with baby spinach before, you're in for a surprise. I remember showing my son, he's 10, and the first time I showed him that, he was like, how is this all gonna fit in there? I said, trust me, it's going to. We have the salt and pepper in there. I'm gonna grate a little bit of nutmeg, so I just have a microplane, and the inside of them is kind of crazy. It kind of looks like a brain. It's a whole, well, this is a half a nutmeg. Just gonna grate it right onto there. Like I said, if you have already ground nutmeg, which looks like usually with the baking spices, just like that, just a small pinch will do it. That'll be enough because it's pretty fragrant. Tongs or a spatula are usually good to start. You just kind of shake the spinach around and they'll start wilting down. If you're ever in a hurry and your spinach or your greens aren't really wilting, you can always throw a couple of tablespoons of water in there and put a lid on, and that'll kind of steam it and help them cook down. I've had this one whole nutmeg for probably 5 or 6 years, and I use it fairly often, but you don't need much of it. So here, just kind of stirring it down. It's already starting to wilt. Once it's a little teeny pile and everything's really bright green and softened, I'll take it off the heat and just set it to side to kind of cool while we prep the egg mixture. For this particular recipe, I decided to do bread instead of a traditional like pie crust because it's easy. It kind of gives you the vibe of like eggs and toast in the finished product without having toast separately. And you can cut the crust soft if you like, but I like it kind of, the crust get nice and kind of crispy on the outside, and I like it. I made some baby spinach earlier this week, cooked so quickly. Yeah, you know, one time I got from the wholesale club a giant bag of frozen spinach, thinking like this is how to do it. Like I'll get a giant container. I made so much creamed spinach. I could not believe how much it actually held in me. To get that much spinach in a bag, it must have been like 5 pounds of spinach or something.
Hey, Ashley, Denise had a question.
Yes.
She said, if you don't like regular bread, alternative ideas like pita or wraps or something, what else could you use?
I mean, well, like I said, you could leave the bread out, just really grease your pan, and then you'll have a crustless quiche. Just showing you this is all wilted down. I'm going to set this aside now, turn the burner off, but this is ready for us when we're ready now. If you, yeah, you could use, you could probably use like a tortilla and cut rounds out of it. You're trying to get them to fit into a muffin tin though, so it might be a little tricky. Alternately, you could do a full-size one in a pie crust, and I have that recipe's in. You can either email me later, or message me on social media. It's Epic Flavors. If you want, I can send you the recipe for the full-size quiche. So let's see. While that's cooling, we're gonna get I like using, if you have a large measuring cup, because it's got a liquid measuring cup, it's got a spout, it just makes it easier to kind of divvy it out later. Otherwise, just a big bowl. We're gonna mix our eggs and our milk in here. So we're gonna do 5 large eggs. And if you've taken one of my classes before that has involved eggs in any way, you know that I'm a big proponent of cracking it into something first, just in case you get a rotten egg. I don't normally like any extra dishes for any reason, but if you've ever had a rotten egg, it's the grossest thing ever. And if you crack it right into your mix, you'll ruin your mix. So I get an extra bowl for that. You don't have to live on the edge. It rarely happens, but it does sometimes. My other tip is when you're cracking an egg, instead of going like on the side of a bowl or something, on a flat surface, it helps it not shoot sharp shells into there as easily. I'm just gonna break them one at a time and put them into my measuring cup. If you were making this quiche in a pie shell, it would freeze very easily or freeze very well. I don't know about the mini ones with the bread. I feel like because the shape is a little frilly up on top, I don't think it freezes quite as well, but it would work. You just might have a little breakage when you went to pull it out of the freezer. Or if your freezer's packed like mine is, it might cause a little cosmetic damage, but it would still be delicious. All right, so I've got 5 large eggs in there. You could also make, if you're making the bigger ones, make 2, bake them both, freeze one for another day. That would work really well too. To this, we're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of milk. Whatever milk you have is fine. I just tend to keep full milk in the house. If you wanted to go like super luscious, I guess you could use like heavy cream. That would be like very decadent. Pop this back in the fridge. Milk in there, and then just gonna whisk them together. You can use a fork if you don't have a whisk, and I like to just pop the yolks first with it. Just helps them whisk together a little easier. If you've ever whisked eggs and one of the yolks just keeps like jumping away from the whisk, that's one way to prevent it. Depending on the type of bread you use, you might need a little more salt at the end. I'm using brioche, which is a little bit sweet. So sometimes I'll usually wait to taste it after it's cooked, and I'll throw a little extra salt and pepper on it at the end if it needs it. Excuse me, cat. I'm not cooking for you. Bye. All right, so the eggs and milk are whisked together. You can put a little salt and pepper in there if you'd like, or you can do it at the end when you serve. We have some seasoning in with the spinach. If you're putting stuff like bacon or sausage that you already have cooked and crumbled, you can put it there. Oh, good. Thank you, Denise. Yeah, you know, I reshot that recipe for the large quiche. It's a very old post on my website. I've reshot it. I have new pictures and great step-by-step stuff, but it's not posted yet. It will be. I'm gonna melt some butter. You can do this on the stovetop if you'd like. This is gonna be to brush our bread so that it gets like nice and golden. You can do it in a saucepan on the stovetop. I usually just use the microwave because it's quicker. And when melting in the microwave, I'll cover it. And people on Instagram were kind of freaking out over this the other day when I shared it. I have this collapsible, so it goes to different heights. So you can do it flat. It's a little microwave cover, but I have small space, so it's kind of nice. It was new to some people, but it stores really nicely. So I like to cover my bowl just in case things explode. And even when I'm fully melting it, I like to I'll set it for like a minute and a half at half power. And every 20 or so seconds, I'll just open it up, kind of shake it around until it's melted. So I'm checking in on it. Again, since this is melting fully and not just softening, it's not as big of a deal, but sometimes if you're just trying to soften butter and it gets too hot and it explodes, you'll lose some if the measurement is gathered a lot. So mine was already a little bit soft because I had it out so you can see it's working on melting. I do the same thing actually with melting chocolate. Half power in small increments. And this is just to get the butter melted so it's ready for us when we're ready for it. All right, so we're good here. And sometimes if there's like a little tiny piece, just shake it around a little and let it sit. It'll sort itself out. Here, I've got tiny kitchen problems, but set that aside for now. I think that's all we need for now. Now we get to roll our bread. So if you have a rolling pin, you can use a rolling pin. You can use your hands. You can trim the crust off if you don't want the crust. But what I like to do is I'll take each piece and I'll roll it. A squarish type of bread works better than like some of them are more like a boule, so the slices are kind of more oval. That'll be harder to fit in the, just making sure my stovetop was off. It'll be a little harder to fit in the muffin tins. So I like to roll it pretty flat. It's not super scientific. We just want like a flat, pliable kind of piece of bread. And then we will brush it. If you don't have a pastry brush, you can use your fingers. Your fingers are really good kitchen tools. Gonna brush both sides. So actually, I think I'll maybe roll out like 3 or 4 at a time. So we'll go like this. Kind of batch the work. So roll them nice and flat. I tried it a couple different ways. I tried it with the crust off, and it was nice, but the edges still get kind of crispy from the butter and in the oven. But I don't like to waste stuff. If you're going to trim the crust off and you want to make like breadcrumbs, you could do that with the trimmed off pieces. Just blitz them in a food processor. Though if you're using brioche, it's a little sweet, so that might not be an ideal breadcrumb unless you're doing it for dessert. That could be pretty good. No burning, or is melting chocolate works best for me by using the defrost option. Interesting. That's super interesting. I've only done it at half power. I've never done that before. That's a good tip. So I'm just doing like a thin layer of butter on one side of all these pieces of bread. I'm gonna flip them over, do the other side. I mean, if you're not brushing brioche with butter, are you really living? Try not to go like super, super heavy on it because it'll make it soggy, but you do want that nice kind of, it makes like a nice crusty, it's like eggs and toast, but in one little package. I can't remember if I interrupted myself earlier, but if you're doing things in your quiches like ham or bacon or sausage, just make sure you use already cooked or take the time ahead of time to cook it first before you put it in, because it won't be, with this mini size, it won't be in the oven long enough to really cook through. All right, so each of these has a nice layer of butter on both sides. I can. I'm gonna do this on in this space. Getting some things over. Very good at Tetris, so it works for the tiny kitchen things. But show you one up here. I'm gonna move it down. You just kind of fold it. It's okay if it rips a little bit. Just kind of fold it down in there and kind of tuck it so you can kind of press it a little bit on the bottom. You know, I think maybe those street taco size flour tortillas might work. because they're a little bit smaller than a standard tortilla. If you want, whoever was asking about other like non-bread options, if you want, I can have like a regular tortilla. I'm happy to try it on one of them. I probably won't brush it.
Ashley, if you use the tortilla, are you gonna butter it also, or is it?
You know what? We could try one of each. I'm all for experimenting with this stuff.
Yeah, to see just some other options, sure.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, let's see. I've got, get out of here, cat. She's a very persistent cat, this Hermione. So these are fajita sized tortillas. There is, I think Old El Paso maybe makes one that's even smaller. It's a street taco size. So this is definitely too big, but I'm thinking I'm gonna take a glass and just kind of cut around it with my knife. I actually do my pita's in the other room. I was gonna say, I think I do have pita. So let's see. Let's put some butter. We'll see how it works. So, okay. Butter, I'm gonna put the butter brushed one in the corner. It's almost the perfect size, actually. A little small. And then let's try one, we'll try one that I won't butter, and we'll go like rustic with it. I'm gonna cut these scraps into strips. And we'll kind of tuck them in here. Not buttering it, but it is touching the cooking spray. Right. So we've got one tucked, one buttered. We'll see. I think it's gonna work. And then I save a couple slices of brioche. So I still need 6 more. Or I can do, I'll do 4 more, and I'll do a couple of them without the crusts. I love, some of the classes where I get the coolest ideas is when I have kids and I ask them to kind of improvise with the fillings and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. Like their creativity it's off the charts. I love it. My son actually, he'll come up with like these ideas, and he's been trying them on his own now in the kitchen sometimes. And it's really cool just to see how, maybe a combination you wouldn't have thought of before can work really well. If you don't have a rolling pin and you're trying to roll something flat, you can use a glass or a bottle. You don't need to buy a rolling pin, I don't think, if you don't have one. Especially if you're doing something like flattening bread with it. You could also just push on it with your hands to get it nice and flat. When we're gonna divide the spinach mixture in between the cups, and then you can whisk the cheese in with your eggs, but I find that it usually ends up kind of staying back in the end, and then you get this big chunk of cheese at the end. So you could either sprinkle a little cheese on top of each of the little spinach piles, and then save a little bit of the cheese and sprinkle it on top after the eggs. That way you kind of see the cheese up top. I think that's something that matters to you. I know sometimes you want to see the toppings. So things like bell peppers or mushrooms, if you dice them kind of small, since we're in a mini sized thing here, but dice them pretty small, and you can either, again, on top of the spinach or right on top at the end after the eggs. So this is great with regular white bread. I would say if you have a bread that's got a lot of like seeds and stuff up top, you might need to keep an eye on it so that the seeds don't burn in the oven. All right, so we've got all of the ones that are going to be lined are lined. wipe some of the melted butter off the microwave next to the board. So if you have kids too, this is a fun one because they can customize their own. You can have them come in and pick which fillings they want in theirs, in their different mini quiches. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the spinach mix inside of each cup. I kind of start with a small amount, and then if I've got more, I'll add more. So it looks like not that much, but you know, each of these cups doesn't really hold a ton of eggs.
So Ashley, the veggies go in before the egg, right?
Yeah.
What
The
about the
sauteed.
ones
I'm sorry.
Sorry, what about the ones where we are just putting it directly in the cup and not into the bread?
Yeah, so you can put them in like on top of the spinach. You can put some on top of the spinach, and then when you pour your eggs in, sprinkle some more on the very top, because if they're really light, they might float, so you'll have like, you know, the color of the bell peppers up top. Some of the stuff might sink a little bit. Just kind of depends on the ingredient, I guess. Tomato, like sun-dried tomatoes would be a great idea in here. Bell peppers, mushrooms. If you have like cooked bacon, sausage, what else do I like it? Ham. Could do just cheeses if you want to. And I have the shredded cheddar today. I like the cheddar with the spinach, but Swiss is great with spinach also. When you can shred your own, I usually do. I have a bag of already shredded cheese this time, so I'm gonna use that. But really anything you have. If you have something like goat cheese, you could just like kind of crumble off. I think goat cheese would be great with the spinach. You just kind of crumble off a couple chunks and stick them on there before you pour your eggs on. I don't think there's any hard and fast rules to what is going to be in there. But I am very curious to see how these tortilla ones turn out. And that makes me think that if that turns out really well, that would be good with like chorizo. Do like maybe some smoked pepper. You could do like a little.
Like a Mexican quiche or something. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note of that. I might work on that. Yeah, that would be fun. And you know, like those little frozen ones you buy, even when they're not super cold, they're still delicious. I mean, super hot, they're still delicious, even kind of room temperature. So now I'm gonna pour the egg mixture, divide it between them. You probably want to fill it like, you don't want to go all the way up to the top. So I try to start maybe like 3/4 full and just see how much egg mixture you have left. The ones that have a bread in there will soak up a little bit more. And the crust kind of protects it from overflowing.
So we didn't put the cheese in yet, did we?
No, oh no, we didn't. We're gonna sprinkle it on top, but I think since you reminded me, thank you. I'm gonna put some on. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit in the bottom of each of those too. So
Okay.
about a cup total. I was too busy thinking about chorizo. So I'm gonna so half of them will have cheese under and on top, and then half of them will have it just on top. And I think both will be delicious. I had a recipe once. I did it for a class and I completely forgot. It was a chai spiced snickerdoodle cookie recipe that I have. And we were making them and they turned out great, but I realized afterward that I totally forgot. I grind up black tea leaves with it to coat with some spices to coat the cookies. Totally forgot them. They're so good, but sometimes those little mix-ups end up being a good thing. You can kind of jiggle it if you feel like the egg isn't going down into the spinach. You kind of like a little bit. And like I said, I'm not going all the way up to the top of each, but maybe 3/4, maybe a little bit more full. I think these are all looking pretty full enough. I'm gonna have a little bit of extra egg mixture. All right, and now I'm gonna add some cheese onto all of them on top. if you grate your own cheese, since it's just off of the block, there's no additives that make, they put on like an anti-caking agent in, kind of like wood pulp, which doesn't sound super appetizing, when they put it in a bag like this. So that's why you'll notice if you grate your own cheese, it'll kind of clump together. Do whatever works for you. All right. Got some on there. And then if you had like, you know, green onions or any sort of extra things you want to put on top, maybe a little smoked paprika you want to sprinkle on top right before it goes in the oven, that would be good probably. Well, you could even do like if you had like a sliced mushroom, like a thin slice, and just press it right on the top, or like a little ring of bell pepper, like kind of fancy looking, like right in the center. That'd be great. Actually, I think I got a little more room in this guy. I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt and pepper over the tops of each of these. So that's what I'm feeling today. Just a little. Husband tends to like things a little bit saltier than I do. So I would rather under season a little bit and let us add more later than over season it, because it's harder to fix that. I think the flecks of pepper up top will be nice. All right. So I'm gonna put this back onto my baking sheet. Got them all right here. And we're gonna bake until the eggs are set. It should take about 20 to 25 minutes. We'll check these after. I'm gonna set my timer for 18 just in case. I wanna overcook them. Alexa, set a timer for 18 minutes. All right, how are we doing? While that's in the oven, we're gonna make this quick salad, and it's a cucumber and cannellini bean salad with dill. This is one of the ones that I have on my website that people, especially on Pinterest, have been going nuts for. It's so easy. It's great as a lunch. There's plenty of protein in it from the beans. It's good on the side of something else, like maybe mini quiches or, you know, whatever your favorite protein is. And you can switch up the beans. You can switch up the veggies. Adding some tomatoes would be really nice. Chickpeas would be good in here. Cannellini beans are just kind of, they're like nice and creamy, so we kind of use those a lot. Yeah. Sorry, I thought someone was asking a question. I'm just gonna drain and rinse these. To get off the extra starches. And when you're rinsing canned beans, you'll see it kind of foams up a little bit. I just kind of rinse it until the foam subsides and then kind of shake it so that it's dry. You can also change the type of herbs that you use in here. I happen to really love fresh dill, so this is what I put in here. Parsley would be great. If you're going to use oregano, go a little low on the oregano because it's really potent when it's fresh. So I wouldn't go like too wild with it. You could use a mix of herbs. You could use a little parsley, maybe a little basil if you wanted it to feel a little Italian. Hi Dee, thanks for joining. All right, so I'm gonna rinse an English cucumber. I think the seeds and the skin on cucumber can kind of bother some people's stomachs, my husband included. So I tend to get I call them seedless. There's still seeds in there. But I will show you, you can peel it if you'd like. I'll show you a little trick I'm gonna leave the peel on. I like it, but I'm gonna show you a trick for removing the seeds, seedless or not seedless, if you're interested in it. Most vegetable peelers, they have this thing's like 1,000 years old. They have this little notch up here. And so you stick it where the seeds start and you pull and it pulls the seeds right out. So that was, when I learned that, it was super I was like, oh my gosh, this thing has another purpose other than just, I thought it was to hang it or something. No worries, Dee. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer. So normally a cucumber like this, I'll leave the seeds in for a salad like this. If I think I'm going to keep it for a bunch of days, the seeds can make it a little watery, so maybe then I would consider taking them out, but I don't mind. They're just not for everybody. So I'm gonna quarter, so I've cut it in half, cut the half down the center, and just gonna do just chunks. As long as they're all about the same size, it doesn't really matter. You can slice them like about a 1/4 inch thick is a good place to start. Salads like this, I don't think they should be stressful with how much you're putting in or what size. As long as everything's around the same shape, it's fine. And you're not cooking them, so you know when you're roasting vegetables or something, you want things to be the same size because you want them to cook at the same rate. This is raw, so it doesn't matter. This would actually be great with like tuna, like some oil packed tuna, I think would be good in here. And that would be a no cook meal for the summer. You know, I'm always looking for things like that because it gets so hot in here. Is the oh my gosh about the peeler? Yeah, it's wild, right?
Yes, that's what it's about. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And it's on because I have like this type, also a vegetable peeler. This one's called a Y peeler because it's shaped like a Y. Those work too. They're a little skinnier on this one, but still works. You just have to go a couple extra times because it's skinnier. You could also use, if you have a grapefruit spoon, because it has the teeth on it, so that kind of helps grip it a little better. Or just a regular spoon. Or you could, if you were trying to cut the seeds out, if you have this like quartered slice, you could kind of cut in on an angle to remove them like that. And then you don't have the seedy part. Yeah, whenever I find something new like that about a kitchen tool, especially one that I've had for like 1,000 years, I'm always like, oh my gosh, you have to tell everyone.
Yes, I'm sure others appreciate it too. You got me looking at my peeler. I have one of the small ones, but it has a different end. Both sides are different. One is just regular and the other has a little point.
Oh,
So it makes sense.
yeah.
So thank you yet again. I love these tips.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, okay, so here's another one that I kind of took on recently. If you have a deli container like this, or you can use just a big glass jar, but something tall, you change out the water every couple days, but keep it in your fridge for fresh herbs. This parsley, I mean, I realize there's not a ton of parsley left, but this parsley I've probably had for 2 weeks and it's still totally good. I thought it was going to be a gimmick. I saw somebody post about it. I'm like, all right, but I'll try it because why not? So now, whenever I get fresh herbs, I add them to this. I kind of pull them out as they go, but I just kind of have this perpetual herb garden in the fridge, which is pretty nice. So see, I'm going to use how much dill? About a tablespoon of fresh dill. If you don't have fresh, if you like dill, but you just don't feel like a fresh bunch is something that you would use, you do have a lot of recipes that use dill, but this is in the produce section by the fresh herbs. It's freeze-dried dill. You keep it in the refrigerator, but it's a little more vibrant than dried dill, a little fresher, but it works really well here too. You might need to use like a little bit less because it's usually when herbs have been dried, the flavor intensifies a little bit. So I like that and a pinch to use also. And you know, now that I'm seeing this parsley, I'm gonna add some parsley in mine too. Whatever you have. And I'm just, especially with dill, because it's so fine, I'm just kind of squeezing it dry a little bit, just so that it doesn't get kind of soupy. Although I'm putting oil and vinegar in here, it's going to be liquidy enough anyway. But so just kind of mincing up the herbs, whatever herbs you want to use. You can also, if you have green onions, you can use those in here. You could use the whites instead of red onion, and you could use the dark green parts also. I know my chives are popping back up in my garden from years ago when I first planted them. So we usually have those. If I want like a mild onion flavor, I'll add chives to something. So that we're gonna add about a quarter cup of thinly sliced red onion. Again, you could use the other half of your shallot if you wanted. I have some red onion from my garlicky meal last night. This you can just slice it really thinly. If you don't think that you like red onion, but because it's a little too strong, you can try slicing it and putting it in a bowl of really cold water and let it sit for 10-15 minutes and then just drain it, and that'll kind of take the bite out of it. It's like the spiciness. Or opt for a shallot. That's a little more mild.
May I ask a question regarding that?
Absolutely.
Does that trick work for people who get migraines from shallots and onions as well?
That is so this is a very interesting question for a few reasons. I'm not sure. Do you know what it is about the what it is about?
I don't remember the name, but there is something in that.
Is it all alliums?
It
like
could
garlic?
be. No, except garlic. I really don't have a problem with garlic, which is strange.
Okay. You know, maybe try it with a small amount. I suffer from migraines also, so I haven't tracked it down to any food causes, but that's a really interesting something I have not considered. Well, I don't want you to get a migraine from trying it, but if you do try it and it does help, please let us know. I would love to be able to have that.
Yes, and I will be dancing with joy. I will let you know.
I very much can sympathize. I really hope my son doesn't get my migraine inherited to him, because it is not fun. All right, so we've got cucumber, red onion, beans, dill. We're gonna add 1 to 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar. I'm not really gonna measure. Dishes like this, I just throw some splashes on. Other things you could use instead of vinegar, you could use lemon juice. If you have capers, their brine, actually capers would be good in here too, but the brine from capers, a couple splashes of that would be nice. And these type of salads, I usually stir with a slotted spoon, just so when we serve them, we're not getting all of the juices on our plates. But just do a couple splashes of this. And then if you have a nicer olive oil, like an extra virgin that you can use, go for it. If you don't, that's fine. We're not trying to be bougie over here, but if you like this one, I think this one's from Spain, and I think it's like a little grassy, which is nice, but by all means not, or by no means necessary. So I did about 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm gonna add about a half a teaspoon of salt and some pepper and stir it, and that's all there is to the salad. It's really easy. Fresh bell peppers would be good in here. I think what else? Anything colorful. I think that's why for this I picked red onion, just because it adds a little bit of a pop of color. And then you can always taste it and see, does it feel like it's seasoned enough, or does it need a little more salt and pepper? Just grab one of the pieces. And if it feels like it's missing a little punch, add a little bit more vinegar. That'll usually kind of wake it back up. So while those are still, let's see, Alexa, how much time is left? 6 minutes left. We have 6 minutes left. We blasted through that. Okay, so next month, our theme is Italian. I'm married into an Italian family, so I have a very strong fondness for Italian food. So Tuesday, April 12th at 7 p.m., we're having our cookbook discussion. And again, feel free to bring cookbooks, check out books from the library. You don't have to bring cookbooks, but I love it when people, have stuff they want to talk about also. We'll talk about cookbooks, recipes, anything related to Italian cuisine that you want to chat about, we can. Last month, we also at the beginning got into a discussion about like interesting jobs we've all had in the past. I don't know, it just came up. It was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating. I'm trying to remember which one I shared. I worked at Disney World for a semester in college. That might have been the one that I share. I've had some very interesting jobs over the years. So we'll be talking about Italian cooking then. Tuesday, April 26th at 6 p.m. is our next cooking class, like tonight. And we'll be making skillet lasagna. You can use, I'll probably use ground turkey. You can use turkey, beef. You can use vegan ground meat substitute. I'll show you. I have a pack of my favorite. My family eats both meat and we're trying to do a good amount of plant-based meals also. So I like, this is Beyond Beef. They sell it by the ground meat in the grocery store. This is my preferred brand of non-meat meat. Some of the other ones, like I like mushrooms. Some of them I find a little mushroomy in a weird way, but it's a personal preference. You got to kind of test them out, see what works for you. So you can use any of those for that recipe. And we'll be making a garlic bread and a creamy balsamic vinaigrette that if you are in Ossining like me or you've eaten at Capri in Ossining, they have a creamy balsamic vinaigrette. It's their house dressing. And I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna say I nailed how to make it, but it's like, it's so good. Like when I eat there, I'll dip my pizza crust in the salad dressing, which makes it basically a salad. It's very good. So that's then. And then I'll link you to, this is the event schedule on my website. I do lots of programs with Ossining. I do kids programs. I do things with other libraries also, but you can find everything there. And then I think, so next month is Italian. The month after in May, we're doing sandwiches.
Sandwiches, yeah.
And then
Yes.
that cooking class is, it's a Vietnamese inspired shrimp. You don't have to use shrimp, but it's really good with shrimp. It's a shrimp sandwich with peanut sauce, cold shrimp. So it's kind of like a summer roll, but with like on a baguette and some pickled vegetables on that. And then the June class, the theme's picnics, because I figure picnic time, people are going out and what did we decide to make for that one? I don't remember. It's on, she's on it, she's looking. The things are.
You said chicken salad with dill and veggie cream cheese roll-ups.
Okay, so that is like the recipe that I always use the rest of my dill when I buy dill for recipe with. It's really, really good. It's like, it's got cornichons, which I'll show you in case, I don't know. It's a type of pickle. This is the brand I like. they're kind of hard to find sometimes, but Stop and Shop usually has them. There's a lot of fresh dill in the chicken salad, and there's also these little pickles. They're super cute. They have a really interesting flavor. It's a little different than a regular dill pickle, although you could use a dill pickle if you wanted. And these types of pickles are really cute if you do like deviled eggs sometimes. I'll slice them in half like this, and I'll just like perch a half on top of the deviled egg, and it just makes it look really pretty. They're great on cheese boards. They're good to snack on. So yeah, that's a really good one. And the weird part about that recipe, the way my family likes to eat it, is we take the chicken salad on our roll. You can have it in a pita or whatever, but on a sandwich roll, and we put kettle style potato chips in it. Something about the salty with the sweet, or with the dill and the crunchy, it's just like, it's such a fun combination. That's just a kind of odd suggestion of pairing. It's by no means required, but it's a really good one. And like I said, we're taking off then for July and August. We'll be back in September likely. If you have any requests for themes, they can be a cuisine. They can be like, this month was eggs. They're pretty versatile. We're open to anything. One of the ones we did early on was like famous chefs, celebrity chefs. So it was all, people you're familiar with from TV. We're open. We like, love giving you the types of classes and programs that you want to see. So always encourage that. I'm gonna grab my pot holders. Check on these mini quiches. Alexa, how much time is left? 10 seconds. All right, Alexa, cancel my camera. Okay, so so here's what these look like. When I shake it, I see the egg's not jiggling. There's a little cheese jiggling, but the egg's not jiggling, so I know that it's set. This might be a little precarious to try to demold while it's still quite this hot. If you're making them at home, like let them sit for a few minutes first, but we'll do it for, you know, just to get it out there for show. Eat this pickle up. I like to take either a butter knife or something not sharp to kind of help ease it around the edge of it. I'm going to put some of this. I'm trying to give it a moment to cool a little bit so I don't burn my hands. I think actually like a hard cooked egg would be good with this too, like if you wanted a little more protein packed lunch. All right, see how this comes out. And I'll post, if you're on Instagram, I'm over there at Big Flavors. I will post once I remove the tortilla one. It looks like it leaked out a little over here, but let's see. It's kind of gently going along the edge just to make sure it's not stuck at the bottom. And I think that the way the crusts come out looks really pretty. I think I need a spoon to help me with this guy. Okay, so you got a cup with the mixture in, get a little bit of stickage on there, but not too bad. And then if you cut down the center, again, it's really hot, so it might not be quite as set as it normally would be. Cut through. Got spinach. I think this actually, I'm gonna pop mine in for another couple minutes, just eggs a little bit, not quite cooked. So I'm gonna put mine in for another like 3 or 4 minutes probably. But that's all there is to those. If you're doing a full-size quiche, you can put like I guess you could do it with this too. You could stick a cake tester or stick something down in here and see if it comes out. Sometimes it's hard to see if there's cheese or wet egg, but I think another couple minutes will hurt this. So
Actually, did it look
Yeah.
like the tortilla one cooked any faster, slower, differently?
It looks, you know, that's a, yeah, let me grab that out for you. Look,
Sorry.
it looks, no, that's fine. I mean, it looks like it. It looks like it cooked to the edges. So this one is the one that was in strips that wasn't brushed with butter, and it's brown. Like the edges did get a little brown. That one looks like it's stuck though. But it might be because the egg, since it was in strips, the egg kind of leaked in between. It'll be a messy one to eat, but I think it'll come out. This one actually, this one worked really well with the round. That one works nice. So it's in the cup. Cut into it and see how it looks. A little flaky to cut, but flaky's not a bad thing with quiche pastry. Yeah. I would not take a bite. Normally I would take a bite and taste it, but this is like molten lava right now, so I won't. But yeah. I hope you enjoy. Those of you who cooked along. Feel free to reach out. I'll put my email in here if anybody has any questions. I know we had a couple new people this month.
Ashley, when you pull the eggs out, are they runny? I mean, I like my eggs more well cooked than my husband.
Yeah.
Are they runny or are they firm when
They
you
should
come out of
be-
the oven?
They should be set. This one's a little too, I'm probably gonna, this one since I already cut into it, I'm probably gonna microwave this one just to kind of help it set a little bit. It should, I mean, it should be firm and not ooze out, in my opinion. For like a soft cooked egg where you have a runny yolk, I like, but I don't like a runny white at all. It kind of grosses me out. So yeah, I guess err on the side of like a couple extra minutes. I set my timer for less time than I normally do just to check on them. But again, if you're doing since the tortilla ones didn't take as much egg for some reason, so I think they cooked a little faster. All right. Yeah, I'm glad. I've got to find a slightly larger cup because I think this was like almost the perfect size. But it worked really well. Or like I said, there's street taco size tortillas that are like smaller than this. So they're like a little mini, kind of like that. I think those would probably be perfect. And then you don't have to worry about scraps and all that. So.
Where did you find the brioche bread?
I found that at Stop and Shop in Aspen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's so if you're familiar with that one, or I guess probably any of their locations, the bakery section, they have like some more like rolls and stuff from their bakery. That's where I found that, not in the bread aisle. And this one is it's Stop and Shop brand, and I really like it. We usually try to look for bread that doesn't have purchase corn syrup in it, and this doesn't. Not that I'm above eating bread that does, but it's our preference. So yeah, this stuff is really nice. Good for French toast too. All right, thank you. Yeah.
I used an oatmeal bread.
Oh, very nice.
I don't know. I'll tell you.
Okay. Oh, don't burn your mouth.
Trying it right away. Can't wait, huh?
I thought it was going to be crispier.
Okay. Are the eggs set in there?
I had one that had the last remnants of the egg, so it was very small. So I took
Got it.
So
You know
but the other
what you
one
might want.
back in the oven.
You know what you might want to try if you want the bottom to get like real crispy. Maybe if you make it again, line the muffin tins, put it in the oven and bake it for a couple minutes first to give the bottom a little bit of a head start, and then you could add your fillings. That would probably help out a little bit with that. Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
That's awesome. I can't wait to try it too. That's great. Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording, but I want to thank everyone and especially thank Ashley for coming and enjoy all your meals and check out her website, our library website and the LibGuide. And I hope we see you in April, right? April 12th and 26th, Italian. Yay, exciting. Yeah.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.